In this year's festival program, we have a special thematic program called What the F that focuses on new and unexpected forms of contemporary feminism. And we have a thematic program that focuses on modern forms of propaganda called Everyday Propaganda. The Russian activists Pussy Riot are very much at the center of both of these topics, so we are of course delighted that they're here with us in Rotterdam. We are screening the film Pussy versus Putin this afternoon here at 4 o'clock at the Luxor. And this film gives a behind-the-scenes view and shows you how they work. And tonight here at 9, also in the Luxor, Nadya, Masha and the whole Pussy Riot will present a preview of the sequel, Pussy versus Putin 2, which is currently in production. And the bands, Russian bands, Jack Wood and Scoffer Lane, will be performing live. They're great bands, so something to look forward to. This afternoon, I will be talking to Pussy Riot. Joining us from Pussy Riot is a whole group. Of course, it's an extreme honor and a pleasure for us to welcome them here, give them, I would say, a standing ovation. Please welcome Pussy Riot. Yes. Let me introduce everyone. This is Petya, Nadya, Masha, Sasha, and Matt.
Yeah. Perfect.
Welcome to Rotterdam. You've been making several films. You've featured in several films. I just mentioned Pussy versus Putin, for example. In what way are you involved in these films?
Mm-hmm. This films made by our closest friends and colleagues, art collective called Google Wives, and they are with us from the very beginning, and that's why we think that their view of the band is the most important.
So from all the other films that are out there about Pussy Riot, you can see that the movie, which will be shown here, basically features sort of the only insider view of the collective and the way things were done in our group in the last several years. So it's a very unique film.
Okay.
I'm sorry, but I will speak on Russian. Надо понимать про Pussy Riot, наверное, самое главное, что это не совсем какое-то определенное просто количество людей, это сфера, в которой что-то рождается само по себе. Точно так же абсолютно бессознательно, можно сказать, разделить все эти фильмы, которые вы будете видеть, они не были задуманы, мы просто жили и делали наши акции, так они появились.
A very important thing you got to understand about Pussy Riot is that all these, everything that happens in the group is not conceived by sort of a certain set of people. Things just happen as a certain creative collective lives and feels and creates things. And the same thing with these movies. They were never produced like a usual movie. Rather, they happened as a documentation of several years of living together creatively. So it's a very unique piece of film.
Yeah, we have a clip. Maybe we can have watch a short clip. You see you preparing for your very famous action.
Потому что мы все на пол ее с одеждой тоже сбивалась.
Ну, еще раз, не поняла, что за раскидывание одежды.
Ну, когда ты просто, мы же будем снимать быстро, не думая ни о чем.
Ну, видимо, да, потому что я не могу и стойку, и комбик. И, видимо, так эти... Ну, сейчас мы все равно будем делать медленно. на Путина, которого я укажу в хоре. Мы падаем еще раз, потом еще раз крестимся.
Как боевой хрень. То есть речь вы
Может быть, вперед.
и вот так вот прямо, знаешь, да? Делаешь прямо. Ну старайся не вот эту часть, а вот эту часть.
Sounds like you have a lot of fun. How important is film for you to get your message across as a medium?
It's incredibly important because it's about us, not as about heroes, as in other films which were doing about us. It's very strange that everybody thinks that we are heroes, but for example, some people understand that we are just people who live and people who try to be sincere and try to think, and we are not, people with I don't know. I mean, when we met Quentin Tarantino, he after 20 minutes of our discussions, he said to us that, before. I thought that it was very stupid to put you in jail, but now I see you and I see that it was extremely stupid to put you in jail because you are pranksters, and it should be forbidden in state to put pranksters in prison because by doing this, states do themselves very funny, and it's exactly what they did with us and our trial. Our process, our preparing, it was very funny, and I think this movie is very important because it shows this side of our activity.
Yeah.
That's NGO work, human rights works, and just political stuff can be interesting, and you can live with it like. It can be your inspiration for your whole life.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about the new film, Pussy vs. Putin 2, that's in production? Is it a true sequel, or how should we?
Well, it's not really well. As I said, as we mentioned before, the first film was not done as a film in terms of. Like the guys who were doing it, the creative film group, Gogol's Wife's production, they never thought that they would even make this film. They were just basically filming a lot of things because they also helped produce some of the Pussy Riot videos and they direct a lot of the works we do. So they had this huge amount of material, and then basically after a certain period of time, they thought that yes, they should use it as a film. And right now they're also documenting a lot of the things we're doing in Russia. And for example, we were just working on some new things this week, and they're also filming them all the time. So obviously all this material fits nicely into the next movie, which is being produced.
But a lot has changed since the first film, so I imagine the production of this film is slightly different. I mean, the circumstances are different.
A little different, but it's hard to realize the result until it comes out.
It's very sad that we missed our real second film, which had to be done in prison. But all footage now belongs to our state, because they filmed every hour move in prison, but we don't have this footage.
Yes.
Why? Do you know why?
Because it's kind of controlling of you. In United States, for example, they have video cameras at the walls, and Russian prisons are not so rich, so they just put the video camera here, and
You're wearing
The guards,
a camera.
no, the guards
The
carry it
guards.
around to film you.
yes, and when you are going somewhere, even to the shower, they going back to you and film everything.
So someday after the revolution in Russia, maybe they will make a Pussy Riot, Pussy versus Putin 1.5, when
Yes.
they'll use a lot of the prison material in the
Okay.
film.
By prison guards.
Okay. Okay. Now, I would like to talk a little bit about propaganda. We have a program in this festival about propaganda, which shows us that propaganda is not what it used to be. It used to be a state medium, but nowadays everyone can produce propaganda and produces propaganda. Some of this propaganda is pretty obvious, of course, and some is not so obvious. There's some really intelligent new forms of propaganda. Is this something that you are concerned about, thinking about yourselves?
Мне кажется, есть огромное разделение между тем, как можно понимать пропаганду в рамках искусства, как, например, собственно, наше творчество, и пропаганду в том случае, если она находится в руках государства.
Well, I think there's a huge division which should be made by what you have in terms of propaganda that is done by the state with all the resources of the state,
Yes.
and the propaganda that we do as artists in terms of art. So essentially both are propaganda, but these are two very different things.
Yeah.
Но силы, мягко говоря, не равны.
So basically you can say that, the forces and the resources both sides have are very unequal.
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 Where does this inequality come from?
From the
Resources?
resources,
Yeah. Okay.
from the influence of о масштабах распространения их пропаганды
From
и
the scale of the outreach
Okay, sure.
state propaganda has,
и одного канала YouTube.
and versus like a certain YouTube channels that you have
Yeah.
to counter that.
Если мы признаем, что мы все делаем пропаганду, то мы должны находиться в равных условиях. И совершенно непонятно, почему мы должны отдавать власти, особенно такой власти, как у нас, не только монополию на насилие, но и монополию на пропаганду, что, в принципе, сейчас в России происходит.
So if we admit that all of us are doing propaganda, then we should basically you can say, demand an equal
Access to
resources and everything as a state. But right now, it seems that just in the way that the state has the monopoly to use violence, in exactly the same way it's took the monopoly to use propaganda.
Okay.
На самом деле наша пропаганда доходит до настолько абсурдных вещей, как, например, ситуация недавняя с французской газетой Шарли Эрбо, где, собственно, российская власть предпочла занять позицию террористического ISIS, нежели поступиться своими нападками на западные ценности.
And sometimes the whole propaganda scare in Russia reaches the funniest and the most tragic extremes. For example, in the Charlie Hebdo situation, you can say that the Russian state media was even more inclined to take the side of various terrorist groups and their extreme opinions because they felt it was too difficult for them to show a sincere level of solidarity with Western society in terms of their relationship to this whole tragedy that happened.
Okay.
One of the most interesting things about totalitarian and post-totalitarian state, and this is what Gabel wrote, and as we see every day, that it make influence not only on political field, but on cultural field, which from the first sight you can think that it doesn't have strict connections, but for example, if you just want to do independent music in Russia, you will have some problems because of the state of state and the state of state propaganda. And I just want to, Sasha and Matvey, say some things about that because they know about that more than we know.
Yes. So you were saying that the state has influence on culture. If you want to make independent music, can you give an example of how this works for you?
Yeah, sure. I can say that it all depends on it's pretty hard to open a small business in our country because of lots of prohibitions, lots of stuff. Just to open a club is a problem. And because of these things, lots of clubs are closing. We got not enough places to play.
Perform,
Yes, to perform. And it all depends. People don't even see these, they don't see the reason. They don't want to see it. And the bands just prefer to, think that we are not that lucky as we could be. And but the reason is in these problems. And lots of bands are just breaking apart. Yes, and just can't get what they want. And just don't forget the visa regime. Oh, it's the great problem too.
Yeah.
So,
Sasha?
Oh, I just want to say about that. Everybody knows that if you want to have some fans or followers, you have to teach them what to listen and what to not listen, because it's a huge idea. And in our country, it's really, really, really difficult. Just because Matt is right, we don't have, rich subculture of underground music, because we know that some 50 years ago, it was a really crazy time because everybody was in this wave. But now we can't to create some new wave just because we have no place to do that. And it's really sad. That's why we're trying to play everywhere, and that's why we are really happy to be here, of course, because we feel ourselves like girls one day, because we're like coming back from prison, and that's why it's so important for us to support them, and we're really happy that they are supporting us, because in some ways we are really similar. Because we're just making something really, really underground. And maybe one day it will be something for somebody. Yeah. And it's the main thing, just to have fun. Yeah. And that's all.
Okay, well, oh, sorry, Matt.
It's pretty hard to just show people that Russian music exists too. I mean, underground music, even rock music. Yes, people don't see it. They just don't want to see it, and I understand them. I mean Western people, and it's fair, but not in every case. So anyway, we will try to ruin this, ruin these thoughts, and so. We should talk about our music that we've been working on. Yes, a couple of weeks, I think, months ago. In New York, we had a great, how do I call it, journey in New York, and instead of one song, which was planned, we recorded 4 extra ones.
5 actually.
5, yes.
And you worked with some New York musicians also, or?
Yes.
Yes.
We tried to show. We try to help Pussy Riot to show people different kind of art, different kind of records and performance, and different kind of everything. And there was a lot of experiments. We worked in different styles, completely different sometimes, and with great musicians such as Lenny Kaye.
Lenny Kaye, yeah.
Patti Smith.
Patti Smith.
Get it.
guitar
Oh, yes.
player, yeah.
Вы нужно продолжить, пока мы...
and and etc. Yeah, it will be a surprise, I think.
Super. I'm looking forward to
Yes.
it.
It was really interesting.
Yeah.
Yes. And the result, I hope, will be
We're waiting for it.
surprisingly interesting.
Yeah. Can I ask you, I mean, we spoke a little bit about the role of film in your work and what you want to try to achieve. Can you compare for us how film helps you and how you work with music? I mean, it's clearly different medium, has a different effect.
Yes, we always work with music and with film in one moment, and that's why now we recorded that songs about what Matvey just said, but we want to release it with video pieces.
Yeah. But video clip or
Like, well, you don't really
Video
have
clip.
Pussy Riot
Video
songs without a music video.
yeah.
Basically, all songs done and released by Pussy Riot happen either in the form of actions, either in the form of a certain video piece which was filmed.
We just believe that video is as important as a song, and all this is.
It works.
Yeah.
Yes, it works
YouTube hit, to work on that. Perfect.
together.
Yeah, yeah, perfect. I would also like to talk to you a little bit about feminism, if that's okay. We have a special program this year about feminism in the program. It's, you know, feminism today is no longer a very strict dogma, but it's a very lively debate with a very strong individual expressions from people. How do you see this development, and how do you see your own role in this?
We want to see these discussions in our country because here it's like a common thing and общее место, commonplace, and
Feminism is usual here.
That's normal.
In
you mean?
Europe,
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, yeah.
it's upper normal.
Men call themselves feminists too.
When we were in prison, our mates from Pussy Riot, they did some travels and they performed with speeches in Europe, and they talked about feminism, and I was like, what? They talked about feminism in Europe? They should and they could and they had to go to small Russian cities and talk about feminism there.
Or Iran.
Yeah.
But it's really to conform action for us to talk about feminism here.
Why?
It's obvious here.
It's obvious here. Okay.
Everybody knows that
Okay.
women is equal, and if somebody is care about that stuff, they should really go with us to Russia and to do some lectures there.
Yeah. But do you see for yourself a role within Russia to talk about feminism, or do you think
We are
it comes
talking,
naturally?
and
Yeah.
Better
also
than that, yeah.
we are helping women who are our friends and prisoners or ex-prisoners, because the situation in Russian women prisons and in prisons in general is really bad. Because, I mean, треть женщин попадает за преступления, связанные с самообороной и насилием против мужей, систематически избивавших их.
As 1/3 of women in Russian prisons are basically there because of problems connected with domestic violence, with the repeated abuse, which ended in some violence as self-defense on the side of the women. So basically, all these are obviously feminist issues which have to be solved in a feminist way.
И до сих пор у нас не разработан закон, наложивший социальные механизмы, ограждавшие бы женщин от домашнего насилия.
And we yet do not have a domestic violence law in Russia which would sort of limit and put these situations in a special legal context when they are reviewed by the courts.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, and it's really maybe hard to understand for somebody, but I got some situation in my life when I was a little bit younger, and in my family there was something like that in this horrible situation, and I came to a policeman and said to them that, sorry, I don't know what to do because it's going for few years, and I have to protect my mother, and I'm sleeping with a knife under my
Pillow.
Pillow, yeah. And policeman just told me that, oh, you know, this dog just yelling, but he's not killed somebody. He's not killed your mother. And I said, yes, I know it, but he really wants to do that. And he said, okay, when he will do that, so you came here. But now it doesn't matter why you're here. And for me, it was like, oh my God, where I'm living, what's going on?
Until he killed someone, he's innocent.
Yes.
That's the rule.
There's this.
That's the middle rule from Middle Ages or something.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah. There's
It's,
this song lyric by Henry Rollins where a policeman comes to a door when a man is beating a woman, and the man says, "That's no woman, that's my wife." That's
Right.
Should we perhaps take some questions from the audience? Is that
Wonderful.
okay? Yeah. So, anybody in the audience have a question for anyone here? I'm sure you have. Don't be shy. It's hard for me to see you, so yes, please stand up. There's someone over there. Maybe you can hand him the microphone.
Дико классный ободок, да? Старый.
Похож на Америку. На Америку. На Америку похож.
Seems completely hopeless when we see it on documentaries or television, and then we see you doing this great work, and with your art. But do you have the feeling anything can ever change?
In Russia, it's much more complicated that you see on your TV. If you will come someday, I mean, you will understand it's much more easier than 100 words from us. But people, they don't live with this propaganda way of presenting things. They don't want to be part of the country страну, которая зовется всем миром агрессором.
So people do not want to be part of a country which is called an aggressor. Basically, things shown by state television and the way foreign media in Europe also portrays an image of Russia. It can be seen as this sort of unified Putinist, very conservative and nicely built single country. But in reality, Russia is a very divided and tragically divided country with a lot of internal conflicts which are not seen by people in Europe because it's a very complicated situation to show it in Western media. So we hope that what we do brings some of that to a foreign audience, and that's very important.
Yeah, and between Russians we have some opinion like, oh, we have to wait half of century and maybe something will change. But thank you for your question.
Thank you. Any more questions? There's some hands over there. Lady over there.
This is my question, and I just wanted to say about the fact that everybody is innocent in Russia until somebody is committed a crime or whatever. But the thing is that, for example, two Ukrainian citizens, it's a filmmaker, Oleg Sentsov, and our former military officer and pilot, Nadya Savchenko, two of them right now are in prison in Moscow, and they were kept on the territory of Ukraine, and they were now in prison in Moscow, and we don't know if they will be released or not. So the thing is that it's actually also doesn't work because they're receiving
Ты хочешь сказать об этом, да?
But yeah, thank you.
I'd like to quickly start with answering the last part of the question. It's very about Oleg Sentsov and Nadezhda Savchenko. It's very funny because both are represented by exactly the same lawyers which were defending Pussy Riot, Nadya and Masha and the other girls. So now Nadezhda Savchenko's lawyer is Mark Fagan, which at some point represented the girls, and Oleg Sentsov's lawyer is one of our best friends, Dmitry Dinze, which is maybe the best criminal lawyer in Russia. So obviously, and we've also extended our support to Dmitry Dinze and to Sentsov, and we hope that obviously this situation will change, but there is a lot of unity and support for Oleg and Nadezhda in Russia as well.
And the other part of your question, I think, was, can you be neutral as an artist or a musician?
I don't think that you can be neutral everywhere, because everywhere now, you know, after conceptual art, you don't. You couldn't be on the artist. You have to be a curator. You have to think about influence of your art. You should think about media, and every time when you decide that your artwork will be exposed in one museum or in another museum or at the street or at the YouTube, is it free or not free? Is it okay, do you support torrent or not? It's all things depends on you if you are artists, and of course you can't be neutral everywhere.
Everything's political, so you can't be neutral.
Yes.
No.
Yeah, and even if you want to do this, it's kind of like impossible, because you're not professional in something if you don't have some great experience in your bag. And if you want to do that, you have to be everywhere and to see, to watch how people performed, for example, everywhere. But the first thing, maybe my band, we don't want to be some political activist or something, because everybody knows that politician, it's you know, it's a big shit, and we really don't want to be like this big shit guys or something like that. But it's the first question when you came to Europe or you came to America, it's the first question from everybody. What do you think about your president, huh? So it's you can't be like, what president? I don't know what I'm talking about. Of course not, because it's contemporary art, and so that's why you are the mirror of today, and in our time. And our time is really, really hard time, I think, really.
Matt.
A couple of words from me about the situation. It's different from the 80s, you know, when every second band was talking about the problems or just, you know, hinting and showing the rottenness of, you know, USSR, and now it's different, and it's an unusual situation to us. People prefer to be apolitical and not to touch these problems. And the media tries to just put the lights on, with the highlights on everyone who raises his head and trying to speak for himself. And we can't, shouldn't forget about the propaganda, I mean, government. And it works pretty well in Russia. And people don't want to be bad guys or, you know, smart ones. It's just, well, I'm trying to speak about the politics. It's people call it, it's out of fashion.
Yeah, it's well, strangely enough.
When musicians or artists touch this theme, it's pretty unfashionable.
Well, but strangely enough, or not strangely enough, I guess, there are quite some punk bands in the West that have become completely apolitical. You know.
Панк-группы, которые стали политическими. Well, maybe I think that's basically sort of a historical development of music, because punk was ultra political, and it was
Yes.
created basically as a political reaction to hippie music, which was sort of tried to take a very certain stance. And obviously, after 30 years of punk, some artists want to take a different stance. So that's
Yes, it's completely
that's
okay.
something that's to some extent very natural.
Why only
strange,
punk?
but,
Punk should be political. I want to see political pop and political disco and political.
Yes, it'd be
and
very,
other
very much more interesting to see
genres.
ultra political pop music, for
Yes.
example.
And you know, it's strange, but our punk rock bands, even punk rock bands, are avoiding this problem. It's strange. It's unnatural to me.
I think it's natural. You know, I think it's natural just because when I'm on stage, I understand that people came to have fun and to, I don't know, to wake up their demons, and it's wonderful. But they don't want to hear about our problems again and again, even here, even in club, when they're drunk, when they want just dance and kissing everybody, and just love everybody, and maybe have sex with everybody. It's wonderful. Why I will screaming about our problems? Hey, people, we got problems. Hey, people, we got problems. I don't know. My band is definitely not about it, but how to say it, I don't know. But that, but that fact that we are doing it, I think it's the most, it's the most big picture of our young
generation.
Yes, of our young generation today, because our generation is just really, really tired to fight for their voice. They just wanna fight to have a blood, just natural blood on hands, and that's all, like animals. And I think it's kind of cool, because I like to feel myself like I'm an animal.
Yeah, yeah, well, yeah.
And young people, as far as I understand it, they are waiting. They keep on waiting if something happens.
Yeah.
They just don't know what they're waiting for exactly, but they're waiting for a miracle maybe. But
So just as in the 80s in the Soviet Union, there was a very big longing for things to change in Russia. And obviously, once it starts happening, there's going to be a lot of people joining and being a part of that change.
Good, yeah, thank you. Is there someone else in the audience who would like to ask a question? I see a lot of hands over there.
Can you tell something about the influence of the arrest of Pussy Riot and the trials on the situation in Pussy Riot itself? Because, as I know, there were a lot of quarrels in the group, and even the group split into two, or some members left the group, and there were accusations of selling out of Pussy Riot and the commercialization of Pussy Riot. Can you comment on that?
We think that songs are more important than all these words. In the last year, we made just 2 of them, and this year we'll try to be better.
Okay. Thank you. Someone else? You're already over there, maybe?
So when I see what you do, I share so much of your rage and your emotion, but at the same time I also feel very powerless, because to me, as a non-Russian, the Russian community seems so impenetrable. And what I'm wondering is what do you feel where do you feel is the responsibility? Do you feel that changing the things in Russia right now is really something for the Russian people and something that the Russian people should change in their mindsets, or is there a big responsibility for us outside of Russia to participate in that or work with you or contribute?
I think Russian community is great. When we've been in prison and after, I've seen people who went to the streets and they were beaten, they were arrested every time when they were going just to support us. And I haven't seen in any country this coverage, and I'm proud to live near these people, and I see how it's growing. Unfortunately, there is no big media resource or microphone like this to give all these people the voice, but they exist, and a lot of them work with us now, not only in music field, but in our media and human rights activity. So for us, Russia exists in these people.
And in terms of what foreigners can do, you know, we have an absolutely opposite view on this issue versus Putin, because if it's Putin's official position and also China's official position, for example, in world politics, that other nations, other non-residents should not interfere in the business of a foreign country, we have a very different outlook. We do feel the world as a big international community where everyone should care about everything. So we're sometimes very happy when the Kremlin-sponsored channel Russia Today criticizes things happening in the United States or Europe, although they do it from a very biased viewpoint. But once they do it, if they do it effectively, that's very nice. And we are happy to criticize things happening in the United States or Europe. And this is very important. It's very important for people to be actively participating in things happening everywhere in the world. You know, it's like if you take the position of not thinking of what's happening in other countries, it's like living in Rotterdam and not caring about things going on in Amsterdam. So I don't think anyone would like this view. So in the same way, please be very active about things going on in Russia, because it's your world and you're part of it.
I think it's a beautiful quote to end this session. Thank you very much, Petya, Nadya, Masha, Sasha, and Matt. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
50 миллиардов и радужный лучик Роднина и Кабаева факелы вручат в лагерях подчиняться и плакать научат. Салют начальничкам, привет, друзья! Сочи блокирован, Олимп под надзором, спецсредства, оружие,